She wasn't supposed to look at me like that, not with that much stillness, not like she knew. I only went over to tighten a loose cabinet hinge. That's it. Nothing dramatic. Just a favor for the woman in 4B, Mrs. Elara Monroe, though she told me to just call her Elara after the second time I helped her carry groceries upstairs. 45, maybe 46. A quiet woman with a low voice and a habit of staring out her kitchen window like she was waiting for something she couldn't name. I'm 22. Just finished trade school. I do odd jobs, help with repairs around the building, keep things running. I don't talk much, never needed to. But Elara always said hi. Always noticed things. You shaved today? You look tired. Not flirting, not exactly. Just seeing. That afternoon, the apartment smelled faintly like cinnamon. She had music on, soft jazz, almost inaudible. She was barefoot, in a slate-gray sweater that hung just off her shoulder, and I swear I spent a full 5 seconds too long pretending to examine that damn hinge just so I wouldn't have to turn around. Need me to hold it steady? She asked, already leaning down next to me. Her voice was so close to my ear I could feel the warmth of it. I didn't answer right away. My hands were steady, but my pulse wasn't. She crouched, her arm brushing mine, lightly, like a mistake. But she didn't move. I didn't either. I'm probably in your way, she said, still not shifting an inch. No, I said. My voice cracked a little. I cleared my throat. You're fine. There was a pause, not awkward but heavy. I could hear the ticking of the old kitchen clock above us. I could feel her looking at me. You always do that, she said softly. Do what? You try so hard not to look at me. I froze. She didn't sound angry. Or smug. Just like she'd been carrying that thought for a while. I'm not, I started, but the words didn't come. Because I was. Every time. Every hallway glance. Every moment she stepped a little too close. I kept my eyes everywhere else, like I was scared of what I'd find in hers. I'm not mad about it, she said. I'm just curious. That word, curious, hit harder than it should have. It wasn't the word of someone closing a door. It was the word of someone nudging one open. She stood up slowly, her sweater falling back into place, but her hand lingered, just for a second, on my shoulder. A casual touch, but my whole body locked up. You fixed the hinge, she said. That was fast. Yeah. Simple job. I stood too quickly, almost bumping into her. We were too close. Inches. I smelled that faint trace of vanilla and something sharp underneath, perfume maybe, or something older. She looked at me then. Really looked. And smiled, not politely, not warmly. Something else. Something searching. Tell me if I'm wrong, she said. But I think I know what you're thinking. My throat tightened. I opened my mouth, nothing came out. She stepped back. A slow, deliberate move. And her voice dropped just enough to make the next words stick in my chest. I wanted to. I should have left then, but she didn't tell me to, and I didn't want to. She turned back toward the counter, like nothing had just been said. Like she hadn't shattered the air between us with I wanted to. The cabinet door hung perfectly now, swinging closed with a gentle click. Done. I could have packed up, nodded, left, gone home, and pretended I didn't feel heat creeping up the back of my neck. But I didn't move. Elara, I said, her name catching in my throat like it didn't belong there yet. She reached for a small ceramic mug and poured the rest of her coffee, black, lukewarm by now. The silence was strange. Not cold, not warm. Just suspended. She looked tired. Not in the way people look after a bad night's sleep. In the way people look after months of pretending to be okay. "I'm sorry," she said, finally turning to face me. "That wasn't fair to say." Her voice was softer now. No jazz playing anymore. She must have turned it off while I was under the cabinet. "I wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable." "You didn't," I said too fast. I regretted it the moment it came out, because it wasn't fully true. She did, but not in a way I wanted to stop. She nodded, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Her nails were chipped. Not painted, not perfect. She looked like she hadn't dressed up for anyone in a while. And suddenly, I saw it, she wasn't some untouchable mystery. She was real. Alone. Maybe freshly hurt. "I just got divorced," she said, almost casually. 7 months ago. "Not that you asked?" I didn't know what to say to that. I just watched her trace the rim of the coffee mug with her finger like it helped her concentrate. "He left," she added. "Said I was too distant. Cold." Her smile was dry. "He wasn't wrong." She looked at me for the first time without that teasing calm, just honesty. Raw, blinking honesty. "I don't usually say things like that," she said. I nodded slowly. "Me either." I didn't realize I was still holding my toolkit until my fingers cramped from gripping it too tight. There was a tremble in the air now. Not quite fear, not quite excitement, the feeling you get before you lean in too far, before you make something irreversible. She stepped a little closer, not much, but enough for me to feel the shift. Her hand brushed mine as she reached for the edge of the counter behind me. "Would you stay a little?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked. Her lips parted like she might take the question back. I nodded. But even as I stayed, something in me stirred, a line I wasn't sure I wanted to cross, but knew I already had in my mind. I opened my mouth to say something, a question, a warning, anything, but what came out instead was, "Elara, why me?" She blinked. Her expression changed, unreadable. She didn't answer the question, and somehow, that felt louder than anything she could have said. Elara just stared at me for a moment, like she was weighing something. Like why me? Was the one question she hadn't prepared for. Instead of answering, she moved to the sink and rinsed out her coffee cup. The silence settled in again, thick as syrup. I sat on the bar stool across from her, setting my toolkit down with a soft clunk on the floor. I thought about leaving. Really thought about it. But my feet didn't move. My chest felt too tight. She turned off the faucet, drying the mug carefully with a dish towel that looked a little too clean, like it hadn't been used in a while. Her hands moved slow, methodical. "I think," she said finally, still not looking at me, "you're the first person who hasn't asked me what went wrong." I didn't know what to say to that either. She set the mug down, leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, like she was cold. Or maybe closing in on herself. "I liked it," she continued, "the way you looked at me. Not like I was broken. Not like I was older." "You are older," I said without thinking. Then, "I mean," she laughed, not mocking, just amused. "You're not wrong. I've got 23 years on you. I'm almost old enough to be your, don't say it." I cut in. My voice cracked, betraying more than I meant. Her smile faded a little, but her eyes stayed on mine. That's when it happened, nothing big, just her hand brushing against my knee as she reached to grab the edge of the island. A second too long. Her fingers didn't move. Neither did mine. And then buzz. The sound ripped through the air like it didn't belong. Her phone vibrated across the counter. The screen lit up, "Ethan, work." She stared at it. Didn't touch it. Just let it buzz again. And again. Finally, she picked it up, silenced it without answering, then placed its screen down. "What's that about?" I asked, more to fill the silence than because I wanted to know. "Ilara?" A voice called from outside the door. A man's voice. "You home?" My stomach twisted. Her body went still. She walked to the door, peeked through the peephole. A long pause. "It's my contractor," she said. "I cancelled him this morning." Her tone was tight now. Guarded. "You want me to go?" She turned, walked back toward me slowly. I thought she was going to say yes. She should have. But instead, she sat down next to me, too close again, and gently placed her hand on my wrist. "No," she said. "I don't." My breath hitched. I looked down at her hand, warm, soft, real, and I could feel something breaking loose in my chest. "I should go," I whispered. But I didn't move. There's a moment right before you touch someone, where everything inside you is louder than the world. Ilara didn't move her hand. Neither did I. The door remained quiet now. Whoever he was, the contractor, the coworker, he was gone. But the weight of his voice still hung in the room like a warning. "You didn't answer my question," I said, not looking at her. "What question?" "Why me?" She was quiet. I could feel her eyes on me, but I kept staring at the tile floor, at the grout lines I'd memorized during all those repairs. Then, finally, "Because you don't need anything from me." That caught me off guard. She added, "Not money. Not advice. Not approval." "And what do you need?" I asked. My voice was low, uneven. Another pause. Her fingers curled slightly against my wrist, like she hadn't realized she was still touching me. "I don't know anymore," she said. "But I know when you're around. It doesn't feel so quiet inside." Her voice cracked slightly, and that's when I looked at her. Her face, usually composed, slightly amused, untouchable, was soft now. Unguarded. Her eyes rimmed red. Tired. I should have said something. Should have changed the subject. But instead, "I think about you all the time," I said. The words just fell out. I hadn't planned them. I didn't even realize how true they were until I heard them. She looked stunned, not flattered, not flirty. Stunned. "Why would you say that?" she asked, voice suddenly small. "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't." She stood up quickly. Backed away. "I'm too old for you," she said, almost like a reflex. "This is ridiculous." "But you don't want me to leave." Her jaw clenched. "That doesn't make it right." I didn't say it was. We stood across from each other now, a stretch of warm kitchen air between us that felt like a cliff. Then, quieter, she asked, "Do you think I'm lonely?" The question pierced. I didn't answer right away. "I think you've been trying to be strong for so long," I said, "that you forgot how to let someone care about you." She blinked. Hard. And then she stepped forward again. Slowly. Deliberately. Our faces were closer now than they'd ever been. My heart was hammering in my chest, every thought fighting with the next. Don't do this. She's older. This is complicated. But she's here. And she's not pulling away. Her hand brushed mine again. This time slower. She whispered, "What would you do if I kissed you?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. My lips parted, but the words weren't there. She waited, breath warm, eyes searching, the distance between us barely a breath. Then, "Don't say anything," she said. Just when I thought I knew what this was, she said something that split it wide open. She was inches from me, her breath warm, her fingers brushing the side of my hand like a secret no one else could know. "Don't say anything," she whispered again. And I didn't. I wanted to lean in. My body was already halfway there. But then she stepped back, not far, but enough for the air to cool between us. Elara, I need to tell you something, she said quickly. Her voice had shifted, not flirtatious, not soft. Nervous. Almost panicked. I stayed quiet. She rubbed her hands together, pacing once like she needed motion to keep from unraveling. I didn't know when to tell you. I thought it wouldn't matter. But now it might. Her words came in fragments, like she was editing as she went. I knew your mother. That caught me square in the chest. What? Years ago, she continued. We worked together. Not closely, but enough. My heart started racing for a different reason now. What do you mean? She looked at me, apologetic, maybe even a little scared. I didn't connect it at first. Your last name, your face, it was familiar, but it didn't click until a few weeks ago. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't think this would happen. I didn't think we'd. She trailed off, the weight of whatever this is catching in her throat. She wouldn't want this, would she? The question slammed into me. I could almost hear my mom's voice, sharp, cautious, always reminding me to be careful with women, especially older ones. Especially the ones who'd been through things. Elara stepped closer again, her hands wringing in front of her. I wasn't close to her, she said, voice shaking. It's not like I watched you grow up or something. But I remember her talking about you. Her son. The quiet one. I stepped back this time. My jaw clenched. So this is guilt then? I asked. You're interested in me because you feel some kind of obligation? No, she said immediately. That's not what this is. I swear to you. Then what is it, Elara? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked toward the window, staring out into the courtyard like she could find the answer in the darkening sky. I think I saw you before you saw me, she said softly. That day in the hallway, you were carrying paint. You didn't look at me twice. And I remember thinking, God, when was the last time someone looked like that? Silence stretched between us. Finally, she turned back. I shouldn't have kept it from you. But I need you to believe that this thing between us, it's not about her. It's about now. And then, just as I was about to respond, her phone lit up again. But this time, it wasn't Ethan work. It was Mom. My mom. I thought the scariest part was wanting her, but it was nothing compared to the fear of losing what we hadn't even named yet. The screen kept glowing. Mom. I stared at it like it might explain something. It didn't. It just rang, then stopped. Then silence. Elara didn't move. I guess she figured out where I was, I said quietly. Elara nodded, but her shoulders were tense, like she was bracing for impact. I think she had a feeling, she said. Mothers do. I let out a bitter laugh, not at her, just the absurdity of it all. This is insane, I whispered. You knew her. She knows you. And I'm standing in your kitchen like none of that matters. Does it? Elara asked. Her voice was quiet, but steady. I looked at her. Really looked. The worry in her eyes, the crack forming in the calm she always wore like armor. She wasn't trying to seduce me now. She wasn't teasing, or mysterious. She was just there. Open. Waiting. I don't know, I admitted. All I know is I've been walking around feeling half asleep for years. And then you opened the door. Elara blinked hard. She turned away for a moment, wiping her face with the sleeve of her sweater. When she turned back, she looked more like herself, or maybe more like the part of herself she didn't let out often. This is the part where I'm supposed to say we should stop, she said. You're probably right, We stood in that small kitchen, everything between us unspoken but loud as hell. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I could see the crack in her lip where she'd been chewing it. I could feel every inch of the moment pressing in on me. "I don't want to hurt you," she said. "I don't want you to look back on this and wonder what the hell you were thinking." I shook my head. "I already did that. Every time I walked away and didn't say anything. Every time I wanted to stay but didn't." She took a small step toward me. "I can't promise you this won't get complicated." "I don't need promises," I said. "I just need honesty." And then, finally, she reached out. Her hand touched my face, gently, like she wasn't sure I'd let her. I leaned into it. Not dramatically. Just enough. "I don't want to walk away from this," she whispered. "Not yet." "Then don't." We didn't kiss. Not then. There was no dramatic music. No dramatic anything. Just the warmth of her palm against my cheek. My hand wrapping around hers. Our foreheads almost touching. Two people trying to figure out how something so simple could feel so impossible, and so real. Outside, the city moved on without us. Inside, everything changed. We didn't fall into each other that night. We stepped toward it, one breath at a time, like we knew we couldn't go back after. Elara didn't let go of my hand for a long time. Neither of us moved, not because we didn't want to, but because we finally knew what this was. Not a mistake. Not a fantasy. Not a passing spark between a broken woman and a lonely kid. It was something quieter. Slower. Something that didn't need to be named out loud. We talked for hours after that, about my mom, about her ex, about the years we both spent pretending we didn't want more. She told me about the night she almost called him, her ex-husband, just to hear someone breathe on the other end. I told her about the night I stood outside her door holding nothing, just hoping she'd open it anyway. We didn't sleep together that night. We didn't even kiss. We just sat on the couch, side by side, knees touching. Sometimes talking. Sometimes not. And somehow, that felt more intimate than anything else could have. When I left that morning, the sun was already up. Her sweater still smelled like cinnamon, and something warm I couldn't name. Before I walked out, I turned back. "You still think this is wrong?" She smiled, small but honest. "I think life is too short to keep choosing safe over real." That was a month ago. Since then, everything's slower, but clearer. We don't hide it. But we don't announce it either. Not because we're ashamed, but because we're still figuring it out. My mom called me the next day after that night. She didn't ask questions. She didn't scold me. All she said was, "Take care of your heart, okay?" And somehow, that felt like permission. Elara's voice softens when she says my name now. She doesn't flinch when I reach for her hand in public. She lets herself be seen, not like someone performing strength, but someone finally safe enough to be soft. I don't know where this ends. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is we found something honest in a world full of almosts. Something we didn't plan. Didn't chase. Just found. And held on to. Did you enjoy the story? If you connected with Elara and me, tell me what part hit you the hardest. What kind of stories would you like to hear next? More forbidden slow burns? Age gap love? Emotional second chances? Let me know in the comments. I'm listening.